After Pegasus, shocked to know our phones had been spied upon. We are used to a degree of surveillance in Bastar, like carrying a spy in your pocket. My life is really an open book. I have nothing to hide. The government does not really care for the poor. It is my right to fight for these rights, and I'm not going to stop. Friends and colleagues, they have planted documents into their computers, or they have picked up a book from their homes. My doctorate was on the Naxalite movement. So that way, yes, I mean, I am vulnerable. UAPA is fairly common. The state wants to persecute me. It can certainly do so.
Namaskar, this is Ratna. You are watching Empire Diaries, our independent digital platform. Pegasus has become a household term now. But is surveillance a new thing in our lives? Is it our new enemy? Of course, it's not. Pegasus is only the tip of the iceberg. Surveillance has been around for a long time. And when it comes to human rights issues, state surveillance is much bigger and deeper than what we know. The name of Bela Bhatia, top human rights activist, lawyer, and academician, was found on a list of Pegasus surveillance targets. She has been defending tribal rights and working with Adivasi people in Bastar region in Chhattisgarh.
मैं अभी नीरम गांव में हूँ. ये गांव बीजापुर जिले के भैरमगढ़ ब्लॉक का ये गांव है. मेरे साथ में सुखी खड़ी हैं. आज से 4-5 दिन पहले की ही बात है. 30 तारीख को रात कुछ 9-10 बजे यहाँ पे फोर्स आई थी. जहाँ हम जिस आंगन में खड़े हैं, इसी आंगन में सुखी.
She was targeted by Pegasus back in 2019. This time too, her name appears on the list. In fact, she is one of the 5 Pegasus targeted civilians globally who are part of the WhatsApp legal case against NSO in a California court. Bela Bhatia is joining us now from her residence in Jagdalpur, Bastar. Thank you, Bela Bhatia, for joining me now. There are lots of issues that are troubling India in these times. The most recent ones are the tragic death of Stan Swamy and the Pegasus controversy. So, as far as Pegasus is concerned, there are a lot of issues human rights activists and lawyers are worried about. You were targeted by the spyware in 2019. This time, your name again appears on a list of targets. Are you surprised to see your name on the list this time?
Actually, see, this is an old list. Some more names have been added to it according to the new data that has surfaced. So, our name, like I was part of the list of 121 persons. That list came out in 2019. So that way, Isbar, there is only more data to it. Like now we know specifically the date on which we were hacked, then the number of times we were hacked during that particular period. So this kind of information we have now. But otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing new about the information this time.
Tell us about your concern. How disturbing is it for all rights activists in the country?
See, the thing is that to some extent we are used to being spied upon here because a lot of what the state is doing here is illegal. As we know, in Bastar, there is a Maoist insurgency that has been happening here for many years, many decades actually. And since 2005, we know that the counter-insurgency in the shape of Salva Judum began. Then Operation Green Hunt and many operations have followed.
It is alleged that you are a Naxal sympathizer. Do you think that this is the reason why you are being under surveillance repeatedly?
No, I think the reason is that I am in some ways, speaking out like many others in the country. I'm speaking out the truth. I'm documenting the truth, and I'm taking the cases to the court, and so on. So the thing is that whatever I'm doing is very much within the constitutional framework. But today, the situation is this, that when you're trying to fight for your own rights, which are very much enshrined in the Constitution of India, even then you're made out to be a Naxalite or a Naxalite supporter. So this, in some ways, is a reflection of the kind of democracy that we have, and the extent to which our democracy is increasingly becoming a totalitarian state. So I think it's more a reflection about the state of affairs uh, than anything else.
Back in 2019, what was your experience? How you got to know that you were spied upon?
See, what happened is that I got a phone call from this person called James Scott, who is in a research organization which basically focuses on cyber surveillance in Toronto University. So then he informed me that my name had appeared on a list of names that were given to his organization by WhatsApp, and where the task that his organization was given was to try to verify whether our phones had been spied upon. And they had uh, run it through the tests that they needed to do, and they had actually found that to be true. So he was actually informing me about it, that we would like to inform you that your phone has been spied upon. And then he explained to me what is Pegasus, and what that hacking does. And I mean, it was a big shock to know that your basic right to privacy has been infringed upon in that kind of a manner, where literally, as he said, it's like carrying a spy in your pocket. So wherever you go, the spy goes with you. And even if you leave it in a room, and even if you may be doing something else in the room, you're being spied upon. So there is somebody listening out there. So the camera can be switched on and they can see what you're doing. So this is a extraordinary level of invasion into your privacy. I live a open life, yeah, and I have nothing to hide. But certainly, what I do in my private life, um, even if it be something as simple as reading a book or talking to my dogs, it is still a space that I'm occupying in my private. It's a private space for me, and I don't want other eyes looking into my life. And I think that is the case with all of us. And besides the fact that, as a woman, you may be changing clothes, you could be, not in a state of dress that you want others to see you in that state of undress. So there are all kinds of, these kind of um, aspects to the whole surveillance that make you very uncomfortable. But as I pointed out to you earlier, that we are used to a degree of surveillance in Bastar. We are used to physically being surveilled upon. I know that my phones were being tapped even earlier. We have been followed, from place to place. There have been actually physical attacks also on us. Uh, so the police has had at its disposal, individuals uh, and vigilante organizations whom they have used to keep an eye, on us. And in some ways, the fact, I mean, one has not bothered because one knows that, okay, whatever one is doing is something that I'm not going to stop doing just because you surveil me, because it is my right to, fight for these rights. And I'm not going to stop just because you are putting that fear into me or whatever. And the message that I would like to, and I have tried to give very openly to these agencies, is that by all means, continue doing your surveillance and they have used very many different methods, um, by, for example, giving guards. Now you don't want guards, but they are giving you guards, even though you give it in writing that you don't want guards, but yet I had guards in my house for some time, which finally then they, after many repeated efforts, then they took the guards away. Similarly, I was given some in-court security. Again, I gave it in writing that I don't want these personal security officers. And but they were, I did not use them even for a single day. This was since 2016, and wrote at least 4 letters to the higher police authorities, and yet these PSOs continue to be on my name. And since the last 3 months, they have again given a PSO, whom I don't want, but I am this time after Pegasus. I mean, I just felt that okay. I mean, if the state really needs to keep an eye on me so closely, I have accepted that PSO on a trial basis. But like, I don't use a vehicle. I mean, I don't have a Jeep or something. I have been using public transport so far, and only very recently I got a motorcycle. So now he comes with me on the motorcycle, like wherever I go.
We often fear that we are becoming a surveillance state. Do you think that we have already reached that state?
No, I think we certainly have very much, because, as you know, Pegasus is a very expensive software, and we are not. Uh, we are one of the poorest countries of the world, and we have heavy responsibilities uh, in trying to reach to all our citizens the very many different needs that they have, and the state has heavy responsibility towards trying to do that, like whether it be public education, public health, uh, infrastructure, and so on. So to use resources which are, after all, these resources are this is our money, is the taxpayers, and they are using that to surveil on us. While, as far as I'm concerned, it is very every. I mean, I've been in public life now for 35 years. My work is completely overboard, and it's completely within the constitutional framework. So even, and as I said before, it is the right of every citizen of this country, and to some extent, it is the duty of every educated citizen of this country that we further democratic rights for our fellow citizens. So to me, it's a moment of shame, that I am in a country like India, because India, uh, often when you go abroad, I mean, people speak about India so highly. They think it's a very non-violent country, and so on. It's the land of Buddha and Gandhi and Mahavir and etc. etc. But actually on the ground, we know that it's not like that, and uh, capitalism, with its very sharp edges, has made inroads into the country, and the government does not really care for the poor, beyond the occasional uh, crumbs that it throws their way. Whatever has been promised in the preamble of our constitution, equality, freedom, etc., and especially dignity, that I think they trample upon all the time. So yes, I mean, so it's, for me, it's a moment of shame, but it's also a moment when I know, it's a moment also of resolve, when I know that irrespective of whatever type of surveillance that you do, that we will continue this fight. And I would like to also draw the attention of the viewers to the fact that the ordinary people in our villages are constantly being surveilled upon. In Bastar, for example, there's a constant surveillance that is going on. And today, even if they go to the market.
Sorry for interrupting. I was just going to ask you this question, that as a human rights defender, or you have been watching this people's movement from very close quarter, how this kind of surveillance is going to affect the people's movement, people's resistance in India?
No, I think surveillance certainly has a downside to it, because see, what happens is that surveillance and the and especially when it gets covered by the media. So even if, for example, at an individual level, you are fighting it, but for example, once it gets covered in the media, once there's a lot of rumors and there's a lot of rumor mongering around it, then what happens is that, how many people can you really convince that you're actually innocent? That you're not a Naxali Dalal or you're not a Naxalite agent, and you're just an upright citizen trying to fight for democratic rights through democratic means. So कितने लोग को आप जा के समझा सकते हैं या बोल सकते हैं? तो कहीं ना कहीं क्या होता है कि उसका एक डाउन साइड होता है, उसका एक इफेक्ट पड़ता है पूरी सोसाइटी पर। पूरा सोसाइटी आपको कहीं एक तरह से मिसजज भी कर सकता है। तो इसीलिए वो एक एडिशनल चैलेंज होता है हमारे लिए कि फिर हमारी लाइफ उतनी ट्रांसपेरेंट रहे कि हम, और ये मेरे लिए जैसे बस्तर में पिछले 5 सालों से ये चैलेंज रहा है, क्योंकि अभी मेरा बस्तर में फुल टाइम 7वां साल है एंड 2016 से ये सब कुछ शुरू हो गया था। सो मेरे लिए ये चैलेंज है कि मैंने ये उस समय भी जब अटैक हुआ 2016 में भी जब रैली लेकर आए थे मेरे घर में, 2017 में भी जब अटैक हुआ था, उस समय भी मैंने यही कहा था कि मैं आप ही के नाक के नीचे बैठ के ही काम करती रहूंगी, तो आप लोग देखते रहिए कि मैं क्या काम करती हूँ।
Final words from you. In this age of increasing digital influence, is it going to be tougher time for the human rights defenders?
See, the thing is, I of course hope not, but the fact is that there could be tougher times because in Bastar we continue to see that the human rights violations are not scaled down at all. We don't know, but yes, the situation could get worse. And especially for me, because, I have also been a scholar of the Naxalite movement. So I've been I've been writing on it. Even like my doctorate was on the Naxalite movement. So when I see about how, in the case of several other friends and colleagues, they have planted documents into their computers, or they have picked up a book from their homes and they have said that because you have this particular book, it means that, you are so and so. But for example, in my house, because I am a scholar or have been a scholar, I do have literature, which is Naxalite literature. I do have left literature. I do have literature of the revolutions, revolutionary in the sense revolutions that have occurred in other parts of the world, because that is part of the secondary literature that one has been reading and relying upon during my writing. So yes, so you know that, and this is the only house I have. I don't have any other house in any other place in India. So whatever I have is here. So that way, yes, I am vulnerable. And if the state wants to persecute me in any way, whether it be as a scholar, as a human rights activist, it can certainly do so. In my present capacity as a human rights lawyer and activist, my life is really an open book. I have nothing to hide. पर अगर एक स्टेट अगर बेईमानी पर उतर जाए और वो कुछ करना चाहे तो वो जरूर कर सकता है। तो ये तो स्थिति है।
Thank you so much, Bila Bhatia, for joining us in this conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, ideas, and experiences. For more such stories, you can log on to our website, empirediaries.com. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.